I wrote based on the trailer that nobody's getting engaged. That was my prediction. So we'll see how that goes. We have episode 9 and 10. We're actually going to cover these two in the same episode for you guys here, because really all that happens on Ultimatum Day is that all the couples say yes, everybody gets engaged. It's a historic event, and that's really it. Except you, Lisa and Brian, you don't get engaged because you did not make it to Ultimatum Day.
They all say yes. Even Roxanne, everyone.
Yeah, so she's got quite the outfit. I think this outfit really is just a preparation for us for her reunion day outfit, which is even more feathers. So I think she was really just preparing all of us for her outfit on her proposal. But of course, she made it really dramatic, of course. I mean, we all thought she was going to say no, so it was dramatic for her to say yes. But, she said she was terrified. And I did think it was kind of sweet, I guess, that she said yes. I mean, I was surprised. And if they really do get married, and at that point in episode 9, I had every reason to think that they would follow through with the marriage. So, yeah, that was cute, I guess, but he did have to force her to say yes.
Or say anything.
Yeah, she kept nodding yes, and he was like, "You have to say it out loud." She was like, she covered her mouth and said it. I had to turn the subtitles on to even say that it said yes. I don't know, they could have put that in there. So, yeah, that was it though. That's episode 9. Everybody says yes. Everybody gets engaged. Until we get to the reunion where we learn more. But my first thoughts as we sit down, we get to the reunion, it has the couches. Obviously everyone is sitting together, so it looks like everyone is still together. And my first thoughts right away was just what the hell is Roxanne wearing? She just looks like a peacock or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was also wondering if Trey and Raya are still together at that moment, because they were sitting kind of this way from each other. So I didn't know if they had something that they were going to be telling us. But I mean, eventually we find out that everyone is still together. But Raya sits down, and they had this, they panned over to her at some point, and she does the awkward turtle, with her hands on her knees. And I thought that was just perfect for our channel because, awkward.
There was one empty couch, and that was for Lisa and Brian, who do walk out, get introduced right away. And they basically let everybody know that, yes, they had a baby. They cut to all these scenes where the cast was confused on whether or not that was real, just like what we were saying in the earlier episodes. We were all so confused, and I'm glad that they showed the cast reacting that way, because I felt I was being gaslighted by Netflix for having these feelings, and nobody else having these feelings on screen.
Yeah.
Because I felt rude. I mean, not saying that somebody would make that up, but there are people who might, and there are people who might have just been overwhelmed with what was happening, or it just wasn't very well explained on the other end, and they gave us this weird scene of them telling each other, and that was basically it. And you kind of wondered, the way they left it, could they come back? I don't know, it was just weirdly handled.
We learn about baby Mason. He is 7 weeks old, which I do think fits with the timeline. I saw some questions online about the timeline, because Vanessa originally said it's been almost a year, but she did clarify at one point, and she said it's been 10 months specifically. So if she had a baby 7 weeks ago and it's been 10 months since they finished filming, I think that does, pretty well line up with the fact that she was pregnant when all of that happened. So
yeah, she just looks really good.
She does.
That's
She
the
looks
thing. She
great.
just looks
She's
good.
in like a little, like a robe outfit. So obviously things aren't, like tight. Her clothes aren't tight, but she looks totally like she doesn't look like she gained any weight in her face or, anything like that. She's probably just all belly. But yeah, and I'm glad that they showed up. I can't imagine that it was easy for her to show up after just giving birth 7 weeks ago and leaving their baby. I'm sure there's probably some traveling involved, at least for a day, if not overnight or longer, to do this. But I am really, really glad they showed up, because when I saw that empty chair at first, I was like, I'm so fucking done with this empty chair. Like every time Lisa and Brian are supposed to be somewhere, we just get an empty chair, empty chair, empty chair. So thankfully they just showed it to us right away just to get me riled up, and then they came in.
They filled the chair. They kind of get into Lisa and Raya's exchange about the Hooters thing. I think that's one of the first things that happens. And Raya immediately kind of calls it out and says that she just didn't appreciate Lisa calling her the Hooters B word. And Lisa immediately is just like, I don't care.
Yeah, she is like, she's not gonna apologize for her behavior. It's weird too, because she admits that she's making assumptions about Raya based off of her working at Hooters, but she'll admit that to everybody else, but she still won't look at Raya and apologize to her for how she treated her. And I think that that's really not nice. I think that that shows a lack of maturity, a lack of ability to grow. I don't know what it is, because it seems like she knows that it's wrong. Like, she said it kind of multiple times when everyone else was talking to her. And then she blames the hormones. I think
well, Roxanne kind of started that, because MGK and Roxanne start talking, like he was saying kind of what everybody was thinking, and Roxanne then comes out of nowhere too and is like, well, also I don't want to be rude, but the hormones. And I'm like, Roxanne, and she was the one openly that was like, it's not even probably true, right? Like,
I know. Well, at first she kind of like yelled it at her, like, you're probably so hormonal. And at first I thought she was like trying to start some beef, but then she went like, oh, she did. She got all I don't know. She was trying to act like she was being compassionate, but it was weird coming from
but
Roxanne.
if you couldn't hear what she was saying, you would think she was casting a spell, because
Lisa scooped that excuse really quick, and she says that that's actually what tipped her off to take a pregnancy test, was because she was acting so out of character for herself. So
yeah,
she says that's the reason she took a pregnancy test. Okay, that's fine, but it didn't seem like that was out of character to me. It seemed like that's how Lisa acts. So.
Well, you got to think, Lisa is 32 and Raya is 23. I mean, you're like almost 10 years ahead of this girl. So to sit here and call her the Hooters girl when you used to work at Hooters, probably when you were her age, like, give this girl room to grow. And I get that you don't think your man would have been challenged by her. I just think you were more threatened by her, that she could have taken him for herself, or that they were both, because the thing she brings up that Raya says is, oh, in her confessional, oh, she was so attracted to him, but he was saying the same things about her. So it was going both ways.
But the fact that she sat and refused to say sorry, there were people that were actively kind of shocked by that. I think even Vanessa was like, so you're not, like, it was weird. Just say you're sorry. You were mean to somebody. You're now saying that you've calmed down emotionally, that you realized you were going through an emotional experience. Apologize to the people who were affected. It's not rocket science.
Well, what upset me is they didn't even bring up what happened to Brian. Nobody even said not a single word about this face shove. Why don't we talk about it? If you're going to show it on TV, why not talk about it? If this was Teen Mom season 1, we would have talked about it. We talked about it.
Right. Not even a question from anyone of like, so have you guys gotten therapy to deal with your like physical aggression when you guys argue? Nothing. Just no acknowledgement. What we did get is that Brian says that he's locked in and sees marriage in the future, but is still not at the point for marriage, and that Lisa is still saying that the ultimatum is like intact somehow. So I don't know. There's something else at this point. I'll see you guys later. That's how I feel. So Nick and Vanessa give them their presents for the baby. They get an ultimatum, sippy and pacifier. I mean, they're basically the same style.
So many gobblers.
Goblets,
it's just what it is.
And then Nick and Vanessa share that their first date was actually at Hooters. So I thought that was just kind of like a funny trivia sort of thing. Somebody says, I can't remember if it was like Trey or Raya, or somebody says like, oh, why didn't you guys tell us to Nick and Vanessa that was their first date at Hooters? And Vanessa has the nerve to sit there and say, we didn't tell you guys that because it's not about us. Oh, all of a sudden, it's not about you. Like, did somebody give her a talk in the back? Like, did a producer speak with her and say, well,
this was her moment to clarify. Yeah, this was her moment to clarify it.
Like, come on, lady. After that, we get the nearly wed game.
Yeah, I was bored by it.
Yeah.
All I learned is that Roxanne and MGK never learned anything about each other, really, and that's
exactly. And that everybody was shocked that Roxanne said yes. Every single body, even
including Roxanne.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Lisa was nervous to see Raya. She was the most nervous to see Raya, which is so weird to me again, because you did her so dirty. Like, just apologize and move on. And why would you be nervous if you feel like you didn't owe this person an apology?
I don't know. It was weird. I was like, well, why would you even write that now after you just had your little I don't care. You know?
Right. And then like, I'm nervous to see. I wouldn't even write that if I were her at that point. I would lie. Like, my pride is too much to be like, I'm not going to apologize to you and then openly admit that I was nervous to see you. No, I was nervous to see like Vanessa or something. I don't. So that's about it of the nearly wed game. I don't know why they played it. I think it was honestly just filler because not a lot happened in this season. I mean, we started off right away with like the ultimate drama of the season, which was Lisa and Brian's whole relationship. And then I think we just needed something to kind of lighten the mood after all that dysfunction. So then we move on to Roxanne and Antonio. But Roxanne is still putting it out there right away openly that she is the sole provider, even though Antonio just bought a car wash and is looking to franchise all of those things. Roxanne looks like she could not be more bothered by the whole thing. I don't know. It was weird because this is what she's been pushing him to do, I think. But it was showing Roxanne's face the whole time that he was talking about his new business, and she just looked unfazed.
So MGK's doing really great for himself. I don't really like the vibes Roxanne's giving. And then we find out that she's also not wearing her ring. So that's a big thing to me. And she doesn't wear, it's not even that she's not wearing the ring, because I also don't wear my engagement ring a lot because it's valuable, so I don't want to mess with it. But and it doesn't fit sometimes. Like, I get my fingers go from fat to skinny to fat. I don't know what's going on with it. So anyways, I can see not wearing a ring sometimes, but she didn't wear it to this reunion where and then you have a million other rings on your finger. But
not only did she not wear it, she took the effort to carry it around with her in the box. It's really dumb, but
and she's wearing every other ring in her closet on her hand.
So I know, and she says it's pretty. She's like, it's pretty, but I'm just not wearing it. She tries to go with this whole like fight the patriarchy sort of idea of like it feels weird to her to wear a ring and it feels possessive. There's part of me that can kind of relate to that. I know when I got engaged and I started wearing my ring, like the first emotion I feel when I put it on is that like I'm proud and I'm happy. And it's like a symbol of something really cool in my life. But I do feel like having a symbol on your body at any time that tells somebody something about you can feel a little bit invasive at first, especially if your partner's not doing that. I felt that a little bit, just that people would know that about me. Not that it's a bad thing for people to know if I'm in a committed relationship or not, but just to always have it's like having a sign on your head, you know?
Yeah, but also my thing with her too was that she brought up that he doesn't wear a ring, so it's like, then just get a ring. My sister's ex-husband, when they got married, he wore an engagement ring. You just get a band, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's not
just
a big
get the
deal.
wedding band and he can wear it before. Like, I don't know. There's lots of ways around this other than carrying this ring around in this box. And I don't remember who it was. I think it was Alex because he likes to call out Roxanne. But he said something like, you're almost going through more effort just carrying this ring around in this box than like you would actually just wearing it. Like it's actually a conscious choice that you're wearing to carry this thing around in this box for no reason and not put it on. And the fact that you're making a conscious choice that you know is hurting your partner is shitty. It just is.
Yeah.
There's no other way to explain around that. And then Netflix gets their petty pants on and they play an entire reel of Roxanne talking about her business, and it was so good. Like it was just constant, like my business,
Oh, it was the best.
and I'm working, and I'm work. So good.
It was the best. It was so much work, and it was more work than I even was shown work. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see why Alex at the end said she was so exhausting. That is exhausting. I'm sorry, but it was exhausting a lot.
To hear that word so many times over the course of 3 weeks, I just couldn't. That brings me to kind of the last part with them, which is Nick and Vanessa ask, like, when is the wedding? Do you guys have any plans to get married? And Roxanne says that there are no plans. She's obviously still not wearing her ring. And I think they ask, like, if you were to, oh, yeah, they said, like, Nick is ordained here. If you guys wanted to get married right now and you could, like, would you? And obviously Antonio says hands down that he would. And Roxanne says no. And to me, this was the most infuriating part of the whole reunion, not because of her answer, but because we just cut away from it after that. Vanessa's like, okay, we'll get you out of the hot seat. See you later. This whole show is about if you're going to get engaged to be married. And she just said no. I was mad. Yeah. I'm still mad. That's where they're at. That's where we leave them for now. Pretty much where we started with them, except now she has this ring that she carries around in a box. So good for you guys, all the effort for that. So
yeah,
moving on to Kat and Alex. And right away we learn that they have a set date. I didn't write down when it was, but it seems like everything is good. And at this point, I noticed it does seem like all the couples have watched the show because Alex is commenting on some of the things that he saw in the show. So that's good. I think it's good that they've been able to see and react to everything that people have said about them and that their partners have said. And that causes an argument a little bit between Kat and Alex and Roxanne and MGK. Because Alex has learned some things that happened that he wasn't aware of. Roxanne and Antonio end up apologizing for some of the things that they said about Kat and Alex and what they thought that their intentions were this whole time. When at one point we learn Alex does not want to be with Roxanne. He's over this, but Antonio is in denial. So Antonio apologizes for saying all the mean things to Alex, and it seems like, again, Roxanne is waiting for an apology from Kat and Alex for their behavior. And again, Alex is just kind of stone cold and he's not giving it to them. But in this case, I really don't think they have anything to apologize for. I do think if there's apologies going on, it probably should come from Roxanne and MGK. They were a little bit emotional. So they're going to get married. They don't have anything to apologize for. Apparently, they've learned all that they needed to learn, and it seems like everything over there is good. Alex is the same kind of guy. Kat seems to speak up a little tiny bit more, and all roses and peaches over there. Then we get Raya and Trey next. Okay. Yeah, so they want a destination wedding, I think in 2025. So they're definitely planning out ahead of time, which at first I think sounds like it's non-committal. But if they're going to have a destination wedding, you have to kind of plan like 2, even 3 years in advance.
Yeah.
So I think if that's what they're actually doing, then that makes sense that would be the date. And that sounds fun. I went to Ireland actually a year ago yesterday for my mom to get married at a destination wedding. And it was the most incredible trip that I've ever been on. So I hope that Ryan and Trey have such a fun time in 2025. I hope that they make it there, and maybe we'll get to see a little Netflix special. Who knows?
After the reunion, we learned that Raya and Trey are actually expecting a child. I'm not 100% if it's true, but I have been seeing that coming up. And is it true?
I think it is true. Yeah. And in the reunion, Raya does admit openly that the whole thing about not wanting kids or not thinking she might not want kids was more of a defensive mechanism because she did have a miscarriage. She never heard the heartbeat. And so she said that she really does want kids. So, yeah, I think it is true. They are expecting a baby.
And what's also interesting is that they kind of talk about Trey and Ryan for a little bit, and we find out that Ryan thought about sneaking into Trey's DMs with a story response, but she didn't do it.
We have James and Ryan. They actually had a second engagement, and they showed some pictures from that, like a more intimate surprise engagement, which I thought was really kind of cute actually for James to do, because I always find it bizarre on Ultimatum Day that they're walking in knowing that they're either getting engaged or not getting engaged, but that's the purpose of them two being together at that moment. And you can tell sometimes it's kind of awkward. Like people don't know how to start or like what, how to respond. It just doesn't seem natural. So I thought it was cute that he did like a surprise engagement.
Well, in their spot too that they got engaged in the first time, it was like in a weird alley. It looked like it just wasn't that spectacular. Like I'm kind of glad he did a redo of that, and it was probably more meaningful for both of them. And I think he knew he would rather do it in private for real, because he probably said a lot more that he didn't want to say in front of cameras. He's got 7 years to unpack. The best thing we learn is with James. Yes. It's the highlight of the entire reunion. It's the best thing ever. It explains so many things.
So we get the James After Dark clip. And I'm telling you, it is spicy.
It was so spicy.
I feel like, I don't know, for some reason I think of James and Ryan as like, obviously they're younger, but because they're high school sweethearts, I just kind of think of them as kids. And I was just like, wow, these kids are spicy. But like they're close to our age. Like they're not that much older or that much younger. So
yeah.
But then I don't know how it comes up, but somehow a sounding rod gets brought up.
I've learned what it was after this.
Can you enlighten us?
Oh. I'm not sure if I can say this on YouTube, but you can definitely Google it. But if you want to know, Brooke, it's basically...
Oh, okay.
I Googled it after they told me I could Google it.
So what I thought was so funny about this was that of all the people on the stage, everyone's like, what's a sounding rod? I don't know. They're all looking at each other. And Kat is like, I know what it is. Like, what the hell? She says she knows what it is from just Googling. But yeah. I don't know.
Who's to know? I know now from this show, and I never would have known before. So thank you, James, for that.
I guess. All right, but yeah, that's basically it for the Ultimatum season 2.
I'm really excited for the next edition of Ultimatum Queer Love. There's no word about when that comes out, but I think that will be better than what we're getting here. Hopefully, I think anything could be better. So.
This season was hard for me. I love Ultimatum. I love Love is Blind. I think this might have been the hardest season of either of them for me to watch.
Yeah, definitely a vanilla season. Hopefully we can get some queer love. I'm really hoping we can bring in some gay guys maybe to spice it up a little bit. So we'll see.
All right. Well,
Caliente.
Happy ending. See you next time, chit chatters. Chick chatters.
Bye.
Bye.